We are trying to raise children who know how to think, create, feel, connect, adapt. These are the skills that we want our children to have. Welcome back to part 3 of our 3-part series on deschooling, the bridge between schooling and homeschooling. In part 1, we talked about how the public system was built and how it was not built to serve most children. In part 2, we talked about trust as a necessary part of deschooling. Trust in not just your children, but trust in yourself. In part 3, we're going to talk about learning and what that looks like in the deschooling process. How does learning unfold when we don't try to control it? How do reading, writing, math, creativity, confidence, how do they emerge in homeschooling? This is where joy, trust, and growth start to replace pressure, fear, and compliance. Totally different ballgame, right? Learning is natural. Children are wired to learn. You don't have to force it. If we think back to a time when our children were toddlers, think about all the things that they learn naturally. How do they learn to talk? They learn by watching our lips move. They learn by experience of listening to us. They do these things naturally. How did they learn to crawl? Again, experimentation, watching how other people move their body. Pure desire. They want to get from here to over there where the toy is. Think about when our children walk for the first time. They're trying to get to your arms. They know that you're thrilled to receive them in that moment. When children feel safe and free, they can learn constantly. They can ask questions anywhere they go. They can experiment with things anywhere they go. If we allow them the freedom to experiment, to learn naturally, they will thrive. You don't have to force what's already happening naturally. Deschooling also allows us to take a look at our home and decide how we can set up our homes, how we can create a flow for our children to be able to sort of learn anywhere that they are, inside and outside of your space. When you eventually decide how you're going to homeschool your family, which I suggest that you don't do until you have a good solid period of deschooling, then you can start to decide, like, where will the learning happen if you're choosing a more traditional path? Where might that look? But just always know that the learning is extended out everywhere. For example, my son is obsessed with soccer. He lives, eats, and breathes soccer. He's on a town team and he's on a club team. He is currently a 6th grader. He is 12 years old. He spends a lot of his days just dribbling the ball, just touching the ball, just juggling the ball, doing anything he can to improve his skills in soccer. He's out in the yard practicing the skill. He wants to get better. I don't need to say, hey, why don't you go outside and practice soccer so you can get better? He intrinsically wants to be better at soccer, and so he knows the things that he needs to do. That includes practicing outside, practicing inside, going to his practices willingly without anybody saying it's time for practice. When I tell you how much my child has grown with this love of soccer, the boy never needs to be told, you have practice at 5 o'clock, you need to get yourself dressed and ready to go. Nope. And this is new. This is new for my son. He did not want to go get himself a snack a year ago. And this boy is ready before I say anything. He has his entire backpack packed. He's got his ball in there. He's got his cleats in there. He wears his croc to and from and changes into his cleats. He has all of the clothing that he needs. He has his sweatshirt in his bag. He has a rain parka in case it's going to be rainy. He has layers underneath. He's brushed his hair. He's gotten himself ready. He's groomed himself all on his own, simply because he has a love of soccer. When you think about that in anything in life, if he's learning how to live in the world following passions, if he can do that in soccer, then he can do that in anything he's interested in. We don't have to see something like math as more important than a skill like soccer. Just because we were told that math, reading, and writing are the most important things that children can learn, there's so much more to the whole child. The important part is that your child knows how to learn. The information is readily available. I watched something the other day online. It was about this teacher who quit after 3 years. She was so entirely frustrated that children were using AI, that children were using their phones to access information. And I thought, why is she angry about that? Why do I have permission as an adult to use ChatGPT anytime I want to get information on the spot, but for some reason our children can't? Because why? Because we need them to learn how to learn? That is the learning process. When I want to learn something, I can access it so much faster than I could as a child. When I was a child, I had to go to the library. I had to pull it up on microfiche. I don't need to do all of that now. I can have information instantly. I'm choosing to get the information, and then there's the part of reading it, learning it, taking it in this case, sharing it out with you, right? If I'm learning about deschooling, I'm pulling from my experiences, but I'm also reading and learning about it. This process of learning happens naturally. We are not different than our children. Our children are not different from us. They get to learn in a way that is free in their own bodies. So when you think about reimagining your home and where the learning is going to take place, whether it's in all of the spaces inside and out, whether it's in a certain part of your home, you're kind of designing it as you're going through this deschooling process, as you're watching your children. Right? You're starting to uncover what is the process of homeschooling that I'm looking to have in our home, what's going to work best for our children, what's going to work best for you as the parents. Children are different. I happen to have 2 very hands-on children. That is how they learn best. And so radical unschooling makes a lot of sense for us. Now, I will share that with my son, he is a little bit different where he has an engineering brain. So there will be times in his path where we do bring in some more direct teaching because he's going to want to learn all of the higher level maths because he wants to track on that engineering path. Well, also he'll tell you these days he wants to be a professional soccer player. But it was always that he wanted to be an engineer. So you just leave it wide open for your children. They'll navigate it. I have no worries about where my children will land as adults, as long as I know that they have a love for learning, that they know how to learn, and that they follow their joys and passions, and that I am proud of them no matter what. They've got this. It's not my path, it's their paths. I'm just here next to them, cheering them on, encouraging them, giving some tidbits and wisdom, modeling for them, but just loving them and enjoying watching their lives unfold because their life is separate from my life and they have so much to offer. All of our children have so much to offer. This process of deschooling is not just about the academics for your children. It's about emotional literacy. It's about self-awareness. It's about that intrinsic motivation. It's about learning how to learn, not just what to learn. When we step away from the fear and the pressure of the schooling system, we make space for joy. One of my favorite things that I did when I taught 3rd grade is we had clubs on Friday. This was completely separate from the academics that I still needed to enforce into my children. I just decided that we needed to have some fun in our schedule, and I figured out a way to carve out some time. We had Club Fridays. I asked the children, what clubs do you want to have? You get to decide what clubs we have. We had 5 of them going at once. I reached out to the parents and I said, these are the clubs that the children want to do. We've formed groups. There's 3 or 4 children in each of the 5 groups. There was a gardening club, there was an adventure club, there was a cooking club. And then I reached out to the parents and I said, here are the 5 clubs. Who wants to come in and be with one of the groups? Choose a group that feels good to you. Choose a group that you're excited about, that lights you up, that maybe you have some knowledge about. And so Friday would roll around and the children were so excited that they got to have their club time. The parents were delighted because they got to come and be a part of something that their children were a part of. It was pure joy in our classroom. And I went hands off and said, what do you want this to look like, guys? What experiences do you want to have together? And let me tell you, my memory is that my entire class went home with numerous plants at the end of that year because they learned how to propagate the plants. They learned how to divide the plants and they loved it. I mean, imagine it was a classroom, a public school classroom. So it was lined with windows going across. What else were we going to do on the back counters in the room? Plants everywhere. I guarantee that even though that was 20 years ago, those families, those children have taken those plants and they still have them. And I guarantee that they remember that plant right there. I grew that when I was in 3rd grade with Miss Hill. Joy. Joy is the answer to learning. We don't have to hope that it can happen little bits and dribbles in the classroom. We can do it all of the time with our children. The enthusiasm is always within our children if we give them that space and time to thrive. Joy is certainly a better compass than fear. We've come full circle here. From why schools were created to what we really want. We are trying to raise children who know how to think, create, feel, connect, adapt. These are the skills that we want our children to have. When we trust this process, we get to see our children for exactly who they are. All of that gets to be uncovered right in front of your eyes. When children feel safe, seen, and supported, they want to learn. Your job isn't to force it. It's to create an environment in which your children can thrive. Children are built to learn. You don't have to force it. You simply need to step out of their way and watch them go. And then you're alongside for the ride, and it's beautiful. You can absolutely teach your child at home. You know your child best. Remember, the public system was built on something that had nothing to do with the best interest of children. Who has the best interest of your children? You. Thank you for joining me for the 3-part series on deschooling. I hope that I provided you with some information, and I really hope that I made you feel more comfortable on this journey of homeschooling. It is truly a gift to our children and to ourselves to be on this path. I hope you enjoy your day. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.